Welcome to our new episode of Speak Revenue. Remember, revenue is not a goal, it's a result. But a result of what? In this show, we turn our eyes from the output towards the input. We speak to sales leaders and entrepreneurs about their journeys, so join us on our quest to uncover the root causes of success. Let's unpack what works for them and what didn't. Today, as my guest, I have Erroin Martin from Dusty Robotics.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Dusty Robotics. Yep.
Erroin, thank you so much for coming on my show. Very much appreciate. Very excited to talk to you. I'm very excited about the product, or at least what I think the product is, but we're going to hear a little bit more in the moment. For our audience who do not know you and who can't really think what a Dusty Robot is, real quick, who are you? What are you guys doing? And what makes you so successful?
I'm Erroin Martin, and I am the VP of Sales for Dusty Robotics. Dusty Robotics delivers an end-to-end hardware/software solution that enables construction crews to build the digital world into the physical world, reducing risk and increasing efficiencies in the construction space. And why we're successful is we're solving a problem that our customers have been desperately trying to solve for the last thousands of years. And we finally got the right tool, the right place, the right time to make it possible.
Now, I've been sniffing around. I've been on your website. I know that for the layman, this is a robot that rolls on the floor, looks a little bit like a robot vacuum cleaner, and it prints blueprints on the floor. Is that correct?
That's correct. At the end of the day, it's just a printer on wheels. So we call it a field printer. And it takes architectural drawings, schematics and the like, and it lays them out on the floor. What was normally done by hand and chalk line by two human beings, sometimes more than that, is now done by a field printer and an operator.
So how is that different from taking some chalk and chalking that up on the floor? Does it reduce the error rate? Where's the plus?
Well, so the plus comes in the accuracy. We're about 1/16 inch accurate, so it's more accurate than what most human beings can deliver. It's speed and efficiency. Obviously, it's faster than human crews. And it provides communication and coordination. We're able to do things that human crews don't necessarily do. We can basically take what's called this BIM model, and put a lot of that information on the floor. Most teams won't do that. They'll do the bare minimum or what's necessary to get by. The field printer could do a lot more than that. And then it's efficiencies that we're bringing at the end at scale. So the ability to do, say, what's called a multi-trade layout, so all the different trades at once, allows the teams that are building these buildings to really see whether they're trying to coordinate digitally in the physical world and reduce conflict, reduce rework, and reduce errors.
Let me ask you, I like to understand products in kind of second and third and fourth degree thinking. Okay, so this thing can print better than any chalk. It's more precise. It has more information. But what are the impacts of that? What is the result of this? Are they saving time? Are they avoiding mistakes that are costly? Is it more safe to work there? What is the impact?
So the impact is time. Time is money in construction. Skanska, one of our customers, was able to save 3 months on a project here in the Bay Area and $3 million for their customer by just being able to use our product. It saves rework when there's inaccuracy or inefficiencies. It prevents that from happening. That usually could happen down the line, which could be costly for everybody involved. And then safety-wise, it actually creates a safer environment because now if there's any sort of conflict that seen in the digital model, it can now be seen on the physical floor. And by conflict, I mean conflict of where walls and piping may be going together where they shouldn't go together, or that sort of nature. We can reduce that, and that those errors could have consequences down the line.
It's amazing tech. All the listeners, all the viewers, please check it out. Even if you're in construction, it's just amazing. You should see this thing in action. Remind our audience, it's dustyrobotics.com.
That is correct, dustyrobotics.com.
Fantastic. Okay, now that we understand what you guys are selling, When I was 16, I was working for an engineering office writing software for them. But that's as close as I came to construction. How do you sell to, who is your target group? Who do you sell to?
So there are a lot of individuals who are engaged in the journey of a building, from the owner or the developer to the general contractor to the subcontractors. We want to engage with all of them. Primarily, we talk to general contractors and their subcontractors. And the subcontractors are primarily talking to the framers, EPs, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. On the GCs, we're talking to the project managers, the superintendents, and project managers also as well too for the subs. And then we're also dealing with the operator in the field, so the carpenter, the tradesman, as well as the foreman, the journeyman. There, we're working with all. So we touch a lot of individuals in order to get us a Dusty field printer on the site.
I understand that you need the buy-in and the acceptance, all of those people. But at the end of the day, who is the economic buyer?
At the end of the day, the economic buyer is primarily the project manager who's wanting to run that project. And what we're solving for them is not just getting the layout correctly and accurately on the floor. We're solving for a business outcome. Business outcome could be they need to get the project delivered at a certain time frame. They may want to be seen as being innovative and they want to win more projects. Or the outcome is that the project is complex. A good example would be like a hospital or a medical laboratory where there's lots of different information that needs to be printed on the floor. And they want to get it right the first time because any rework or any delays are incredibly costly.
And that project manager works for?
That project manager could work for the general contractor. That project manager could also work for the framer or for the subtrade as well too. So their job is to obviously manage that project to completion and they're not just coordinating what we're bringing to the field, but also coordinating their crews, they're coordinating contracts, they're coordinating change orders. They actually have a lot of power because they're the ones who are spending the money as well as trying to make the money for the organization.
I'm a total stranger to that market. Help me understand. It sounds for me heavily that your lead generation move would be account-based marketing. There's probably a finite amount of companies that are potential buyers of this. Is that how you approach it? Or just share with us, how do you start conversations, to avoid the nasty word of generate leads? How do you start conversations? How do you find people to start conversations about your product that might end in them procuring your product?
Lead generation is not a dirty word. It's the nature of the business. We're lucky in the sense that we have a lot of inbound leads. We have a very strong community of followers and high level. So when the co-founder Tessa Lau and Phil, they started working with construction companies very early on to really understand the business. And when we launched our first field printer, it wasn't to like big fanfare or anything like that. It was to local sites here in the Bay Area, and people were taking videos of it, and word spread that way. So we have a very viral marketing. It's not influenced by us by all. It's really influenced by all of our users and individuals who see the field printer on a site. That's where it starts. Now, when a lead comes in, my team is being discerning. We have certain criteria for what would be a good fit for our products and our services. And that then does fit into an account-based sort of approach. We are targeting the top GCs, the top framers, the top MEPs across the entire country, and they're different by each region. When we're engaging with them and the lead comes in, we're benchmarking that lead against, do they fit that criteria and be in the top of their region?
Does that mean you have a list of potential customers, and if you're not on the list, you can't buy?
Yes, there's a list of potential customers. If you're not on the
That's
list,
beautiful.
you have to kind of prove yourself that you're worthy to buy. There's a little bit of a velvet rope strategy that's there.
Yeah.
We will sell to obviously, individuals who this is a good fit for them. But you're right in the sense that it's not a finite market. It's not selling something to branded auto dealerships. That's a finite market, or to say insurance companies. That's also a finite market. It's named, but in those, and I'll use Skanska as an organization. Skanska is the largest GC, or one of the largest GCs in the world, based out of Sweden. They're a U.S. headquarters in New York, they operate at regional offices. Those regional offices are almost all independent business units of themselves. And so now what you have is like, okay, well, I have one large organization. I would just do, if I was selling SaaS, just do a big push towards like the CIO top-down sort of approach. But you really can't do that here. You've got to be able to understand what their regional impact is for that region, who the decision makers are different from, say, region A to region B. And the national organization won't necessarily push things all the way down. Then, because they're a general contractor, you've got to understand which subcontractors they work with as well, too. So it's a big interconnected community where not just relationships matter, but business outcomes and then also macroeconomics of those regions also impact the ability for those individuals to deliver their product at the very end of the day, which is a building. It's very nuanced in that sort of sense.
Yeah, I want to dig a little bit deeper here. I know that if I'm not mistaken, you started this position earlier this year.
Yes, it did.
Right?
Correct.
I like to think of lead generation and marketing and getting started in the following terms. There are only 4 ways how you can tell somebody what you're selling. You can talk to people who know you, and you can talk to people who don't know you. And you can do this one-to-one. You can do this one-to-many. So if you want to talk to people who don't know you, and you want to do this one-to-many, billboards on the street, TV ads. If you want to talk to people who know you one-to-many, then you post on LinkedIn. If you want to talk to people who don't know you one-to-one, then you send them cold emails. So just triple tap dial them till they finally pick up because they think something awful happened. Or you talk to people one-on-one who know you. And this is usually where you start. Sounds to me when I listen to you, you're still harvesting this people know us. And we talk to people who know us. Where are your thoughts and plans to expand the total number of people who know you so you can have this nice one-to-one conversation with somebody who knows you and who is qualified?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'd say we're almost at I think the second example, people who know you, but to many, almost like the LinkedIn sort of posting example. So what we're doing is we're leveraging our CRM to coordinate. For example, I say I sold to you, Stephen, a field printer, and you're a general contractor. You're using our field printer on a project. We start to gather who else you're working with, and we start to picture together your universe. And then what we're asking for you to do is make introductions to those individuals, or more importantly, we'll try to make sure the field printer is on site when all those other individuals will be there so they can see it in action. That's a way to do one-to-many, as well as going to trade shows. We are doing some LinkedIn ads. Our customers gratefully do testimonials without even asking us about how great we did. That's the Skanska case study. It was actually published by Skanska. It wasn't even published by us, which is fantastic. And they're mentioning us when they talk about innovation in the field. So our brand name is carrying itself without us having to put a lot of gasoline into the tank to make that possible. We are doing an outbound campaign in particular regions we never really penetrated into. And what we're finding is as we engage with some of these individuals, and we're not triple dialing or doing spam cannons with them, but when they engage us, they've actually already heard about us. And now we're engaging with them, I would say a lukewarm introduction versus a hot lead or cold lead, outbound sort of approach.
I mean, it helps that you have freaking robots who print stuff on the floor.
It does help.
Flying cars would be maybe even better, but you're very close.
We're not that close. We're a little ways to go. Yeah. Yeah, it does help. It does help having robots on the floor. Yeah, it does help.
Yeah. But so you mentioned your CRM, and it sounds like you're leveraging the people who know the people that know you, which is a very smart approach. And I would limit the 4 ways that I mentioned is how you can tell yourself, other people, what you do.
Yeah.
Of course, other people can tell other people what you do, and you can foster this. Let me understand a little bit. Let's walk a little bit through your sales process. You have given us a picture of how it starts.
Mhm.
People who know you mostly start the conversation, you qualify them. Is this an SDR job, BDR job? Is this a full cycle AE? How is your team set up? How big is your team?
So my team right now is 4 AEs, and I have 3 SDRs, an inside sales manager, and a RevOps person who reports into me. In this organization, sales is just the team I run. And we do use SDRs. So SDRs do a pre-qualification. They do a bit of a vetting. We have a scoring mechanism we put in place. Basically, you have to get X amount of points out of 10 for a lead to be qualified. And then they set the meeting and the AE takes it from there. The velocity of my deals are roughly on averaging right now 37 days. And that doesn't matter. Obviously, the smaller the ticket price, a little bit faster, larger ticket price, a little bit slower, but we're moving at a pretty quick pace. So the sales process starts with, I do the inbound lead. Inbound lead comes in. If they're in North America being Mexico, United States, and Canada, they get routed to an SDR based off of territory. And then that SDR qualifies and goes to the AE that the SDR supports. If they're out of North America, then we're right now currently in EMEA, LATAM, or APAC. So we basically put them in a holding pattern until we're ready to go overseas. On the outbound motion, we engage with very specific targets. It's a top-down, bottom-up approach. The AE takes the what's called the PX or the VP or director level in the organization. They identify the targets they're going after. The SDR will engage the PMs and the PEs. PMs are project managers, PEs are project engineers, and engage them at that level on the bottoms-up approach. And we're using tools to uncover what projects are going on in those regions and who's bid on those projects, what the stage of those projects are. One of them is Dodge Data, had a lot of that information by state. ENR is another one we use as well too. And then we've got some other really clandestine means to uncover some stuff, which I won't share because it's proprietary. And that helps us get into an engagement rather quickly with the individual. What's awesome about construction is they do pick up the phone on just one call, and you can engage them primarily in the afternoons because they're usually off the job site, and they're very talkative. And then the other thing we do to pick up leads is my CS team. They're on site with a lot of the customers, and their eyes and ears are open as they're doing delivery. And when they hear things, they report it back up into a Slack channel for us, and that also uncovers leads for us as well too.
Real quick, you mentioned SDRs. What are they measured by? It's an ongoing debate. Are they measured by appointment schedule? What is their North Star metric?
Their North Star metric is qualified opportunities. So are compensated on my team by both meetings booked and then meetings that are converted into opportunities. And we're going to institute later on an additional payment for opportunities that make it to close, that they'll get a certain dollar value to have a higher quality. But right now, the quality of my opportunities isn't bad. So they're measured on meetings and qualified opportunities.
Okay. You mentioned proprietary tech, but from the standards, Salesforce, HubSpot, what is your tool stack?
So tool stack is Salesforce as our CRM. HubSpot is our marketing automation platform. We're using Gong Engage, which we're going to launch out as our automated sales automation for the SDRs. LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We're using Gong to record calls and do coaching. And then for reporting metrics, we use Salesforce native and also Tableau, because Tableau can pull together my HubSpot information and then information from NetSuite, so we can see the full financial picture of that customer lifecycle. And then standard tools, Google Slides, PowerPoint for presentations, and then most of the time we're out in the field actually demo the field printer. So that's usually how it works.
How do you use anything specific for your field force? It sounds like you have a lot of people out in the field.
So the CS team, we use Odoo, which I never get correctly, as our ERP and fleet management scheduling tool. We're actually bringing them into Salesforce as well too, to the Salesforce inbox, so the Salesforce app, to manage cases, and then tie that back to our Jira tickets for case resolution. Other than any sort of other field tools, their iPhone iPad. That's pretty much about it.
As a frame of reference for our listeners, what's the average ticket size? How much is it if I want to print stuff on my floor?
So we
How
don't
much
sell.
do I have to scrap together?
Yes, that's a great question. So we sell subscription, so robots as a service. We have two means of doing it. Our core mean and our most popular mean is an annual subscription. That's $240,000 a year. And then we also have the ability to do an annual agreement with us. Entry point of that annual agreement is about $10K for an entire year. And then you can bring on projects as necessary with a minimum of 2 months lease time. So the project-based leases, as we call them, is roughly around 70,000, per project. Averaging price with discounts and the whole caboodle, my customers who are on annuals are roughly averaging 238. So we barely discount, which is very fantastic. And then for the project-based leases, we're roughly around 60K. So we're roughly, again, within the same ballpark figure with 70K number.
So you're saying I cannot buy a printer. I can just rent a printer.
Yeah, correct.
Very smart. That bears the question. You mentioned briefly customer success managers. Do you have a land and expand motion there?
We do. One of our greatest examples is we landed with a company that does industrial automation for logistics. So think that they build and then they install like the racks that move like your boxes for Walmart or Amazon, stuff like that, in distribution centers. We landed there with a very small proof of concept that converted into an annual, which is now they're at 6 robots and they're on a 3-year contract, and that's a 7-figure deal.
Nice. Let me ask you something. And by the way, if I may say so, I get to talk to a lot of people in your role at all kind of companies, different sizes, different stages. It's impressive how well everything is set up, given that you just took over that role, a couple of months ago. I know a lot of companies where they've been building this for a way longer time, and they are not on that level. So respect, head tip, nicely played. Speaking about nicely played, if I would have a time machine, and I don't have robots, I don't have time machines, but suppose I would have a time machine where I could send a postcard to the 5-year younger Erroin with a warning of what not to do, what to avoid. What would you write on that postcard to the younger self? What to do differently? Or
I would say clear your mask better when you're diving in Hawaii. I had a dive incident.
scuba diver?
Yeah, scuba diving. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So if I were to go back to my 5-year self, really go back to looking at the fundamentals, the businesses that you want to join, and ask the question, like, who are your customers? How do you serve? What's your margin, right? That's most important. And then what's your velocity? And what I mean by velocity is like not how many days it takes you to get a deal closed, but how many deals is the team booking and why? And the reason why I would say that and that prospect, because that's what all businesses really need to be successful. And not every business has it all quite figured, especially in startups. A lot of founders will say they really understand the TAM or they really understand the customer. But if you can't conceptualize how big the market is, and you talk to your friends and they can't conceptualize how big the market is, then the market probably really isn't there. And there isn't a TAM, and you may be joining an organization where the founder and then the VCs behind them, they think they have a good idea, but they really don't. Understanding what the margin, if they understand their business, they should know what their margins are. They should be able to articulate very easily because it's all about how you make your profit and how you make your money. And then the velocity, like how many deals are they actually flipping and turning? And now that latter part really depends on how early stage they are. If they're very new, it's going to be onesies and twosies. But can you see a pathway to get there? And are they thinking about that pathway to get there? One of the things I've done in my career is, and now so much more, is I not only talk to the founders who I'm going to be working with or the CEOs, but I also start to backdoor in through their customers and really find out what it's really like. And also look at their pedigree. They've been successful before. Do they take a lot of people with them? A lot of people follow them. These are all really good signals about culture, about vision, all those sorts of things. That's what I'd put in the 5-year postcard, that and, clear your mask. And the last piece is, I would say, don't get wrapped up in the latest sort of trends, what everyone's going after.
Mhm.
I think you and I both talked about prep to this before our call is like, we both worked in the AI space. Now it's back again. AI is back, and you can get wrapped up really easily in that. And I know I did, like, want to use the latest tools to make my job easier as an IC, as a VP. And the reality is, you still have to put the grind in no matter what, because
Yes.
you have to be able to connect with other human beings. That takes time. It takes persistence, and it takes a lot of no's to get to a yes.
I love how you use clear the mask, but I like the emphasis that you put on actually talking to people. I think this is something that in our space is done not often enough. We love A/B split tests and we love to become dashboard warriors, but sometimes you just have to get up, get off your butt, knock on doors, talk to people, and you're going to learn so much faster and so much more that you cannot possibly find out, from a dashboard or from an analytics tool.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. That brings us to the end of this episode of Speak Revenue. I want to thank our guest, Erroin Martin, for joining us today and sharing his valuable insights about robotics, about sales, about construction. Thank you very much. A huge shout out to our listeners. Your support means the world to us. Remember to check our website at speakrevenue.com for a full transcript and additional resources. And if you enjoyed the show, please like it and give it a good review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you go for your listening needs. It really helps to get the word out. Also follow us on LinkedIn, on Insta, on YouTube, and wherever you can find us. We'll be back soon with another great guest. Until then, stay curious, keep learning, stay safe. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.